Hello everyone, and welcome to my Sunday stream. I'm Lee, and I am glad to have you here with me. So, I'm gonna give people a few moments to settle in. Let me know what you think of the idea of a countdown while I rearrange a thing, because I gotta do one thing. Hold on. Oh my. I'm really good at dropping things, for the record, so. Hi, Nightmare Thief. Can I call you something else? Thank you so much. And anyone else who's here right now? Okay. I think everything's where it ought to be. We're going to, I'm going to rattle on for a little while, probably till closer to 3:30ish. And we're going to do some hypnosis. I've had a request. I had a question that I decided I would turn into something that we do today here, which is, how do we love flying? How do we get to a point in our brains where we anticipate how fun that's going to be and how we can have a calm, happy experience with flying. And we're also going to do some anchoring, and I think these two topics will blend well together. So that's what we're going to talk about. And in addition to the anchoring for that, we're going to talk about anchoring for things like sensation or emotion. Hi, Lycan. And we're going to hopefully have a really good conversation about other hypnotic stuff. I've done these enough that I think I would be prepared and ready to go on camera, but I am almost never ready. Almost never ready. My computer issues have largely been resolved, so I definitely want to say thank you to Cormac and James for coming to my rescue. I really appreciate that you've done that for me. It absolutely helps me to get less frustrated. So the summer is a weird time for me because two things happen. One is that my other business, so I have a small chemical business, that it quiets down. And it kind of goes in spurts, but it quiets down. Hi, Clarence. Because people they've like stocked up for Father's Day, or they, do farmers markets, but things come in like spurts. So the summer is a little bit quieter than some of the other times of the year for the business. And also I end up with chunks of time that I can do things, but because I'm like this, it feels like I just have catch-up time. Hopefully this is the last year for catch-up time. I haven't quite completely divested myself from things I was doing that I am no longer going to be doing. But I'm working on giving myself some more time so I can focus on some hypno stuff. And I'm still working on that virus audio that is part of a collective collection, and I'm very excited about that because I think you guys are going to love it. The idea, little hive mindy, right? We all make a whole bunch of different things, but the theme is unified and some of the messages might be unified, so that we encourage you, we give you a list of where the other files of the other people who participated in there, so you can go, you can find their stuff, and you can spread the message to other people, and they can find one of them, and then they get that message to go listen, to hear all these things, to like share. Yeah, so There are definitely some hypnophiles out there already like this. I mean, I love this idea. I made a file with Jutoy called the Mind Control Complex, and it's so much fun. I still get comments on that, even though we wrote that a long time ago. So it's time for like a different take, a little update. But the idea that you stumble upon this place, and then all of a sudden, oh no, dreadful things happen. It's just so fun. Yeah, Clarence, I think it's going to be so good. I think it's going to be so very good. Yeah, right? Mind Control Complex is just like, the story it was based on was super hot, and Jutoy did a really great job of rewriting that. And I like to think I did a good job of reading it, but, you know. We were gonna do this thing. We were gonna like do a live experience with that at an event, right? We were going to like get some scent, I don't know what they're called, but like essential oil diffuser kind of things, and like appropriately put scents in at the time. So like a couple of different things that would have made you think, like would have drawn you into, say, the cave, and would have enticed you to follow the people, and then would have let you know that you had become one of them. Things like honey, things like leather or motor oil. Hey, how are you? So good to see you here. And please let me know. Like, I would love to call you whatever you want to be called. So I've been calling people what your incense really reminded me of that, your incense stories. But I really want to call people what you want to be called. So if you want to be called something, you let me know, and I will do my very best to remember it from here on until eternity. As long as I'm doing these things, if I see your name, I will call you what you want to be called. So I want to let you know that. Yeah. We thought it was fun. I actually ordered a whole bunch of different kind of not essential oils, because you don't get essential oils for the kinds of scents that we were looking at. But they do have like perfume oils essentially. And we thought that would be a really fun way to like hammer that in. So maybe we'll do something like that at some point in time. I haven't actually seen Jutoy very much since I moved down to Florida. I've seen them maybe once or twice. It's a shame, but I'm hoping that at some point in time I'll run into them again and we'll do some fun, sexy ideas. And then we'll give everyone like a card. Like I'll make little 3x5 cards and I'll paint the scents on them, and you can take them home and or smell them all weekend and turn into whatever it happens to be. I think that'd be awesome. Yeah, so, all right, so today I want to talk a little bit about anchoring. So what is anchoring? It's a thing that does actually happen in, in real life. There are things that give us an anchor to a situation, to a person, to a smell, to a kind of behavior. And a lot of times these are not awesome, because we learn quickly when things aren't awesome that's an association. Hello, David. But you can turn an anchor into something really, really amazing. And one of the ways that I have done this in the past with people is to give them a slider that works somewhere on their body. So basically an anchor, sorry, I have like a piece of hair that gets stuck in my glasses. It's not like the worst thing ever. It gets stuck in my glasses, and then it like pokes into my eye. And then, I'm distracted the whole time. It's still there. Wait, it's still there. It's absolutely still there. Okay, now it's gone. So an anchor is a thing that, you are reminded of, but we can deliberately install anchors in people. We can adjust them. You can take an anchor, which is an idea or something that you don't like, a response that you have that you are not happy with, and we can replace that with something else. Now, sometimes it's a little tricky to do. not in person, because usually I would be touching someone's arm, for example, to make this happen. I'd usually be touching like someone's wrist, and I'd be maybe up here, and then I would be touching up here to increase or decrease things. So you can do this yourself as you follow along. But I thought we would just like play around with something and do a traditional NLP type anchor for something, okay? So to start out with, I'm going to describe how it works, and then any of you who'd like to are going to follow along, and then we're going to do it for real. I'm going to talk about it first, because the reason we talk about it first is that you want to capture, you capture with a touch, so this touch is the anchor, that state right there is the anchor. You capture a very specific moment. So, okay, I'm going to ask you to remember a time when you felt really, really good, okay? You can close your eyes if you want to do this, but however you want it to work, I'm going to suggest that you think of a time that didn't give you happy tears. It just like made you feel like overwhelmingly, wonderfully amazing. As powerfully associative as you can make that. So if you want to do like an orgasm-y thing, you can do that too. But I'm suggesting that right now you just find yourself doing something that makes you feel good and happy. Like maybe it's maybe you had like a really great vacation somewhere. You remember like a sunset or some kind of experience that you had that like brought you delight and joy, that made you smile, that made you laugh uncontrollably, something that caused you personally to feel really, really good and happy, right? Okay. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to think about that time and to allow yourself to inhabit, hear what you heard, see what you saw, feel what you felt, to let that experience really inhabit you. Just the sensations that I talked about, whether you smelled something or you tasted something, allow that experience to inhabit your body as fully as you possibly can. And I would like your brain to sort of pay attention to what was like 95% of the way there. And then you're going to let yourself get to 100% of the way there. Right? You're going to feel that good feeling, right? It's going to be amazing. And then you're going to, when you get to that point, you can let that gently go away. Then you're going to shake it off. You're going to like just shake your body, let those feelings go, right? So you know you can get there. That's part one. You know you can get there. Hi, mouse. Or around here, there's a Nissan dealership called M-A-U-S. I always called it mouse, but they call it moss. So if I've mispronounced it, please let me know. Okay, so you're going to feel that good feeling, right? You felt it. Your brain marked where about 95% was. You marked where 100% was. You let that fade away, then you shook it all off, and you're back to normal. Yep, we're doing some NLP right now, actually. So pay attention, have a good time, follow along. Okay, so when you have done that, I'm going to have you do that again, except this time, when you get to 95%, you're going to take a finger or two and you're going to press it somewhere. Like I usually use the back of the wrist. But actually, let's go up a little bit higher. Let's go up a little bit higher than the back of the wrist, because we're going to do something else in a little bit. So you're going to go up a little bit higher, right? Okay. And so what you're going to do when you get to that 95%, you're going to press and hold until you get to 100, and then you're going to let it go. And then you're just going to enjoy that sensation, that feeling. So go ahead and right now, go back to that place. Start thinking about how good you can feel, hear what you hear what you heard, see what you saw, feel what you felt, taste what you tasted, smell what you smelled. Let it get really powerful and amazing. As soon as you get to that point, that 95%, you're going to press your wrist. You're going to let it go all the way to 100. You're going to feel so very good. You're going to let your hand go, and you're just going to Gently let that feeling fade away. Do you feel good? I feel really good. I wasn't even thinking of anything super specific. I was just feeling as good as I could. I touched my wrist. Okay, so that is the anchoring in of that place right there. You remember that place? Like, you can use a freckle or something if you need a visual reference, but you're gonna touch that right there. It's gonna feel great, right? So I feel really good right now. Do you feel really good? Yeah, okay. So when you feel really good, you're just gonna shake it all off again. You're gonna go back to normal. It's hard. I still feel like some residual good feelings. I don't know about you. You can let me know. So as soon as you're ready, you're going to hit that spot again and let that anchor, let those good feelings come back into you. You're going to let them all come back, and you're going to get to experience what it feels like to hold on to that spot and just feel that delight, that joy, that happiness, all those things that made that experience really powerful and really amazing. You just keep holding on, keep letting yourself experience it and feel how good that is, okay? So you want to make this better, right? You want to make any experience better and better and better. So when you've done that and you've experienced that thing, you know how good it feels, you're going to take your hand, or someone's going to take their arm, hand, whatever, and you're going to go all the way up to your shoulder. And you're just going to let that intensify. You're going to let that increase. You're going to let those good feelings. I don't think it matters which shoulder or which arm you use. You're just going to go up. And you're going to keep letting those feelings and those sensations get stronger and better until it feels even better than it did when you set the anchor. And the moment it feels even better than it did when you set that anchor, you're going to press it again. You're going to hold it again when it gets stronger and better. And you're going to accept that and experience that and just hold on to how good you can find yourself feeling. Okay? Now we're going to calm down. I'm going to shake it off. So if you want to play around with any kind of sensation like that, you can do it with pleasure. You absolutely can do that with pleasure. You can do it with near orgasmic experiences. And then you can just, like, you know, you or somebody that you trust can just like run their hand up your arm and they can increase it. They could drop down your arm and let it go. Calm it down, quiet it down. Those, for some reason, those petting kind of motions. Yeah. So go ahead and let's all, I don't know who in here decided to do that with me, but now it's your turn. Okay. So get to that place where you're remembering something that's really awesome, whether it's pleasure. Let your body experience that as intently as you possibly can. If I go too fast for you, which is certainly a possibility, if I go too fast for you, it's okay. You can come back and watch this again and let your brain get into that habit of figuring out how long it takes you and what it's going to do. Goosebumps are a good sign. So let yourself get to the point where you feel really good as you can, as much pleasure as you can. By the way, Clarence, or anybody else who cares, if you want to do this and to get it even more powerful, you can literally do this to yourself in the middle of orgasms, or a partner can do this to you in the middle of orgasms. So remember, you want to capture that top 10% of the mountain, right? You don't want to capture it going down at all. You only want that top 5 or 10%, because you can always make it better, but you don't want to capture anything decreasing. So you only want to get the upside of the pleasure, of the good feelings, of those good sensations, and you want to let yourself go, I got it. You want to hold on to it, you want to anchor that in, and you want to let yourself know that you can do that again and again. So, like, you know, go masturbate. And then with the hand that you're not using, if you're just a one-hander, then you're going to take your fingers, you're going to anchor that in, and you're going to find yourself, like, just capture the pleasure. At some point in time, again, you can make it better. If you want to actually capture an orgasm, you have to be really specific and capture at that moment. But this is sort of the way that people who are not using hypnosis and like train people or partners to come on command, and like, or to train like when I count to 10, you know, so it's sort of a process that they use to do that sort of thing. You know, like, you can't come yet, and the pleasure just keeps increasing, right? And then they're like, oh, but when I get to 10 and I tell you you can, you know, come now, then you can do it. So like, that's the same idea. They're actually anchoring in those feelings of pleasure and delight. And, you know, 10 for anybody should be at that place where you can't hold out any second longer. That's so much pleasure, and then you just give into it, right? This is what I'm here for, like, and I am here to give your spouse all the ideas, every single idea they could ever want. So, okay. Didn't know we were going to talk about this today, but pleasure is always a good thing, because pleasure, in my idea, in my world, is a gateway drug to anything else you want to make happen. So here we go. All right. So you shake everything off, right? Get back to that place. You feel so good. You feel amazingly good. It feels you're at that top 90 to 95%. You anchor that in. You let it get better and better. You let it go at 100 or 99, whatever, and you capture that, and it feels so good, and you just get to bliss out and enjoy how good that feels, right? You can make it better by going up. You can diminish those feelings by making them go down. It's all good, all wonderful, all easy. So when you find yourself doing that, you'll realize that you can do that with almost any kind of sensation, right? I mean, it's not a big secret, but this is one way that you can find yourself experiencing as much pleasure as you possibly can, or as much calm as you possibly can, or as much competence or readiness or happiness or delight as you possibly can. And the more you find yourself playing around with these things, the more you'll realize that they're super versatile. You can use it before a job interview. You can find that happy, calm state. Like, what if you meditate on a normal basis, or you do hypnosis, and you've noticed that at some point in time, maybe there's a audio or there's a thing that you do that lets you feel super chill, super calm, like your brain is like kind of in a flow state, but super calm, right? You're not frantic, you're not moving super fast, you're just, everything just flows really nicely, really amazingly. And then you're like, oh, that would be a great state for any number of things, whether it's an interview, whether, you know, you're having an appointment with somebody, you need to really get a point across, and you know it's better if you can do it with a clear, calm, rational kind of tone of voice, whatever. You think about that, you anchor that in, and then you make it happen. So we're going to do something just for liking. So let's talk about how there might be things that you find yourself dreading doing for whatever reason. You don't feel very good about doing this thing that's coming up, right? You do not feel good about that thing. You just don't. So, I'm not going to ask anyone else to participate in this because this is really specific, but if you have something that fits that and you would like to get rid of it, that's okay. So what we're going to do basically is turn something that you do not like to do, which is flying, into something that you look forward to, that feels really good, that you can be maybe even excited about, you know, in a happy way, not in a pleasure way. That might be weird for a flight, I don't know. So, so here's how you do that with the anchors. And I'm specifically going to have your partner help you if they would like to. If they're around, you can let me know. It might be easier. It's not impossible to do it yourself. So I'm going to just walk you through the steps. And this can be a little overwhelming because we're going to bring up things that you would like to change. And sometimes when we bring up things that people would like to change and we ask them to really get into that, it can bring up a lot of emotions, and it's not always pleasant and makes you feel bad. And that's not the end result here. The end result is for you to feel as good as you possibly can. The end result is for you to have a really good time when that activity comes up or when you think about it, so that those feelings do not bother you anymore. Now, This is not for phobias necessarily. It's just for things that you're like, I don't really want to do this. I don't like it. I have a, an aversion to doing this thing. I'm going to have to do it. I'm going to force myself to do it. It's not like it's a traumatic thing that's happened in your past. We're not going into therapy. We're simply making you have a change of mind about a thing that you used to not like, that from now on you can like. So here we go. I would like you, as gently to yourself as you possibly can, to think about the thing that you don't want to do. The thing that you don't want to do. The thing that you're going to have to do, that you don't want to do, that you don't like doing for whatever reason. And again, you're going to go through that same process of getting to about 90-95% of that. And this time you're going to hit this part of your wrist, okay? You're going to hit this part of your wrist, and your partner can do it for you. But they just have to, so you're going to do a dry run without touching it. And then you're just, so if you're doing with a partner and they're going to like do the anchoring and touch you, then you're just going to discover that you're going to do a dry run, then you're going to shake it all off. You're not going to enjoy that experience. You're just going to literally shake it off. You get to 100, you're like, okay, this is it. And you can stop it. You're going to shake it all off and go back to normal. And then you're going to do it again. And then you or your partner is going to touch here at that 90-95%. You're going to capture those terrible feelings. Sorry about it. That's how it goes. You're going to capture those terrible feelings. You get to 100, let it go. Okay. As soon as you have let that go. And I'm going to suggest that you find yourself doing that now. You find yourself doing that now. So as soon as you have captured those horrible feelings and then let it go and shaken it off, okay. The next time you're going to do it, you're going to set that anchor. You set that anchor. Okay. So, and then what we're going to do, we're going to do two things almost simultaneously. This is why it's better to do this with a partner. You can do it yourself. So whatever it is that is not okay is this top anchor, that top feeling right there. And then this is the one that we set where everything feels really good, right? So what we're going to do, either you or your partner, when you've calmed down, is you're going to push this. You're going to feel those things come back. As soon as that happens, you're going to pop the second one, let that first one go, and feel those good feelings start to take over you, okay? So if you have any questions, because that might be a little complicated, let that happen. And remember, you do want to shake things out in the middle of doing it because you want to dissipate those feelings physically, emotionally. You want to take some nice deep breaths. You want to let things go. And you want to come back to a state where you feel reasonably good. So again, you're going to think about that terrible feeling that you did not want to have. You capture that top 90, 95, hold it until you get to 100. Then you let that one go. That's how you capture that first bad feeling. And then when you're ready, you shake everything off. You press this, you feel the bad feeling, you hit this, you let that go, and you let that good feeling just overwhelm you with how good it can be. Okay. I hopefully that's a good thing. Hopefully that's a good thing. I feel like it's a fascinating way to change your mind with a physical method, right? It's a physical, you're using your body and your body's responses, and you're giving yourself new directions, essentially, physically. Yeah. Okay, so as a test, when you've shaken that off, then what you should do is you touch this again. And what you should get when you do this is you should get this feeling automatically. It should, like, you try to do this, you try to bring those feelings back that you didn't like, it should bring this back, and I'm getting goosebumps now because I'm doing this to myself along with you guys. So, isn't this fun? I think I need a fan. Oh, I need a fan in here. I just recall that I have one of those little hand fans. Also, do I have a fan on my lady's shirt? No, she has no fan. I really love this shirt. I don't know if I can. It's I went looking for this outfit, which is called a hanbok. It's Korean. And I couldn't find one, and I got this shirt instead, and I really love it. Anyway, kind of had this feeling that she might have had a fan, but that was all in my head. So, Okay. So when you find yourself, so usually I talk to the unconscious mind, right? Like that's my main method of changing people's minds. I talk to your unconscious mind and I convince it to do something different than it had been done. But this way, when you use anchors, you're convincing your mind to do something different, and you don't actually have to use words. I mean, you can use words to encourage or to direct a thing, but it's really a physical change in the way that you have addressed an issue. So, I would love it if you would tell me more about what you experienced, if this is a thing that you did, whether you can feel that pleasure again here or you feel it now from here, and if the bad thing has changed, if your ideas and thoughts and feelings about it have adjusted themselves in some manner or some fashion because you're doing it to yourself. Like if I was doing this one-on-one with you, we would be having slightly different conversations because I would be able to tell how your response has changed. I would look at your body language. I would, look at the way you held yourself and you moved, and I would know that something had happened that was hopefully a very positive response. But when you are away from me through the interwebs, I cannot actually see how you respond. Oh, thank you. And I think it's important. So if you can do it for yourself, you can. Yeah, it is really fun to do one-on-one, but it's such a great thing to be able to do for yourself because you can literally do this for yourself. You can literally do this for yourself with almost anything that you want. And the idea that you can make things better, or you can take them down, and then they don't feel. So what if we had just done, oh, you don't like doing this thing, well, we'll anchor it in and then we'll just make that go away by doing this. And then, so you can always re-anchor a thing. Like you can say, oh, you know what, that thing that I used to fear, I can re-anchor it so that I can drive down the feelings. I can re-anchor it in and now it doesn't bother me anymore. You can just play around with pleasure and increase it and increase it and increase it. And then you mark that in. So like some people, when they try to do like hands-free orgasms, right? They almost get there, but they don't quite get there. So you can do that so that you get to a point where you're anchoring in those feelings, those really good feelings, right? You anchor them in and then you increase the amount of pleasure that you feel. You can do both arms at the same time if you wanted. And then you can get that to a point where you feel so very good that you can just anchor that stronger, more powerful pleasure feeling in again. And honestly, like what if you hated taking tests? You hate taking tests. Here's a thing that you're really good at, you're really competent at. And again, it doesn't matter what it is. What if you're really good at putting together Legos? Like you do it in super fast time and they look stellar and you're so good. You never have any parts left over that you're not supposed to, right? And then you have this other thing, you're like, oh my God, I hate to do this thing. It's not going to be very good. But you think about you and the Legos and you think about how amazing it would be, to feel that competent at whatever the thing is you're going to do next. Here's the Lego thing. Here's whatever you got to do that you don't want to do. You bring this in, you do that, you let that go. All of a sudden, that thing that you didn't want to do, you're like, oh, I'm going to be really good at this. And your brain just makes that work. It makes that connection happen. It makes that work. And it's so fascinating that you can do that. So that's called a collapsing anchor, by the way. So the first one is an anchor. When you set another anchor and then you let it go, and then this is the only one that's left, and even if you touch this, you feel what you felt there. That's called a collapsing anchor, and it gets rid of the thing that you didn't want to have. And honestly, the things that you can do with hypnosis and NLP are just like so amazing. They're just so good that you can do these things. And to let yourself like keep carrying on and finding other things that you can change your mind about to be happier, to feel better, to do whatever. So that's usually. So I was going to do some like other hypnosis and not just like NLP techniques. So NLP techniques are really fascinating for me. Because first of all, they work without trance necessarily, except when you go inside, like there's all these people that create fancy names for things. And I don't care. But I'm not going to use somebody else's fancy name. So I'm just going to talk about it in my terms. But when you, and I call it, I guess, a waking trance, right? So you can do a waking trance state and you can get a lot of stuff done and accomplished in that. But you don't always have to have a trance state to accomplish something. But almost anytime you go inside yourself to feel a thing, to make those changes, it's sort of trance-like anyway. It's an altered state anyway. Yeah, so that's just one NLP technique. It's one of my favorites. There's another one. Maybe we'll do it someday. There's another one called a fast phobia cure or technique. And I use it for all sorts of fun things. Transformations. You can certainly use it on phobias, like if you saw a terrible accident and you have PTSD, for example. You can use that to adjust how you feel about it so that it doesn't bother you. For people, like this is a super common question on the Hypnosis subreddit, which is, how can I forget somebody, right? You don't ever want to forget them because it leaves weird holes in your brain and it's not healthy. So you just stop feeling the way you felt about them. You take the way that you felt about them and you diminish that. You push it away. You disassociate from the feelings. You turn the feelings down to zero. And then when you turn those feelings down to zero, it doesn't bother you anymore. Like you could think about anybody and you'd be like, oh, well, I don't really care about them. So, and then the less you care about them, the less you think about them, the more you just move on with your life, the better everything is. So there's a lot of people that want to be like, oh, I want to forget this person. You don't have to forget them. You just stop feeling that way about them and it makes everything better. We do a lot of things unconsciously. Like when we meet someone, we have our interactions with them anchored certain things in us, right? So sometimes it can be really powerful to let these things go, especially depending on how long your relationship was or how powerful it was for you. And remember, you're not the same as your partner, so no matter what you felt, they're not necessarily feeling exactly the same thing. So you may respond differently, but you can release emotions from events, and that can be very helpful for a lot of people. So, all right. So the hypno that I was going to do today, maybe we've already done it. I don't know. I think that the anchor stuff you can also do in your brain. So you can do it by talking to your unconscious mind and making those adjustments and changes. Like you could essentially replace one thing with another. That reminds me of another NLP technique, which is, I want to say it's like a swoosh or a switch technique. And basically you, okay, think of something else. No, I'll just tell you how it goes. We won't really do it, but I'll just tell you how it goes this time. So you think of something that you don't really like, right? It's in front of you, it's big, it's bold, it's vivid, it's got a box around it, whatever. It's something that really makes you uncomfortable, unhappy, whatever. And then often you're, so some of this depends on timelines. So for me, my timeline is my left is my past, my right is my future, here's now. Not everyone's timeline works the same way. And I talk about timelines because the way we perceive what has happened and when can be really powerful in terms of the way that we make changes. And I have come across some fascinatingly different timelines. Absolutely. So if yours is not the way I've described it, that's okay. You can also adjust what your timeline looks like and how it goes. But sometimes people have really fascinating ones and they serve them really well. We're not going to play around with that. But so my timeline, my past is off to my left. So I'm going to take this, and you can move that thing anywhere you want. I usually have it in like the upper left. I don't know why. But you take the thing that you don't like, right? Big and bold and bright. And then you have like off to your left, this tiny little box, maybe no border around it. Maybe it's dull and gray. because the way we perceive things matters. Maybe it's cold, or maybe it's like just room temperature. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect you. You don't notice it. It's there. And then, but that's the good thing, right? That's the good thing. Up in the lift. There we go. That's the good thing. And then right here, big and bright and bold, right in your face, is the thing that you do not like. You don't like. You hate it how it is. You're not happy with this behavior or this whatever. And then I always make the sound because I think it's fun to make noises. So I go 1, 2, 3, and I make this sound. And then when I make the sound, they swap places. And then the thing that was terrible and in your face and big and bright and bold and terrible with a border around it goes off to this past. This is my past. Goes off to my past, and it becomes this teeny tiny little thing without a border and no color, and it's really unimportant. And the thing that I wanted to be important, all of a sudden is right in my face and big and bright and bold. And maybe it's like perfect temperature, and maybe there's a blue sky somewhere in the background, and maybe there's music that I really like, and maybe there's a really nice smell, whatever, doesn't matter, and it's right here. So I go 1, 2, 3, whoop. That's the sound I make. And then the thing that you really like is right here in your face, and it feels so good to have it right here. And this is the thing that you find yourself paying attention to and making your focus. And it's really great because you feel good, because you've made this picture as enticing as you possibly can make it. And if you want it to be in your future, maybe you have it right in front of you, and then you move it slightly over to your future. So wherever your future is, mine is to my right, you put it right there. And so maybe it's not only just now that you're going to feel really good, you're going to feel really good now and in the future. And that can be helpful for a lot of people. And then that other thing, you find yourself not even thinking about it anymore, because this other thing is now and it's your future. And it's so enticing, and you have made it so appealing that it draws you to it. And this other thing has no more pull. This other thing has no more pull. You don't care about it. It's unimportant. It doesn't matter. You stop thinking about it. You stop caring about it. You have to be careful. It can't be the type of thing that you are supposed to pay attention to, that you have to act on. So it's not like you don't want to do that to your job, unless you're going to find a new job. Like if this is a new job, awesome. And new job comes right at you super fast with a zoop, and it's right in your face, cool. But you don't want to do it the wrong way. You don't want to do those things in a direction that sends you off the wrong path. So just be careful if you want to do those things yourself. You totally can do these NLP techniques yourself. They work incredibly well. They're super powerful, and they can make a change happen like that is permanent. And it's absolutely fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating the way that they can work like that. But be careful. Again, you could send something that you think isn't important away, and then you're like, oh shit, didn't I need that? And you never have access to it again. All right. And then, so the fast phobia cure is meant for things like, oh, I just saw this terrible accident. I relive it in my head again and again and again. And the way that it usually works is you imagine yourself like in a theater. Sometimes people are like, oh, I put yourself in the projection box, and you're, projecting this movie on the screen and you're watching it. I don't care about that part of it. I adjust everything I do. And you can do it too in a way that makes you happy, that serves you really well. So what I usually do is to have you imagine a thing, right? And then I'd like you, instead of looking at a terrible thing, I'd like you to you can do it with, so you imagine the terrible thing, except usually with a terrible thing you start and you're like seeing yourself in it, right? So people who have had PTSD experiences, the problem is their brain is usually, even though we adjust memories every time we think about them, their brain is like, oh no, here's this picture and we're going to watch it exactly as if it were a movie. We watch it every single time. It's exactly the same, but they're in it, right? They're in it. So instead of that, we have them like, maybe they're in it the first time, then we have them watch it like it's on a screen. And then we have them move back and back, and then we adjust what they see. So that instead of having this terrible accident that elicits this horrible response in somebody that, for example, makes somebody afraid to drive because they saw this bad accident and they never want to experience that thing themselves, they disassociate by physically, in your mind, moving away from the thing. And then you might replace it with a different kind of experience. Like you might imagine instead that you were just driving down the street and everything was fine. You might find yourself getting more comfortable with cars or highways or whatever, but you find that you inhabit a sense of competence and confidence. And I use those words together a lot because I think that they are good pairs when you are actually working on a thing. I think if you are confident and you are competent in whatever it is that you're doing, or if you feel that way, you can probably get most things done. Of course, you have to understand what those things mean for you. You have to be able to inhabit a confident feeling. You have to know what competence in a particular area is. But don't worry, you can always get better at a thing. And you can always learn to feel more comfortable about a thing. But I think that those two words go really, really well together. So when you are learning a new behavior or you're learning a new experience to replace an old one, if you're not doing that that switch, then you can do it in a way that just lets you get more and more comfortable and familiar with a new thing that you want to do. And you let that same kind of thing, you let yourself experience it as vividly as you can. And then you do it again and again and again with the fast phobia technique. Once you have found yourself doing it or watching it, you start out by watching it. You then watch it backwards really fast. And every time you watch it, it's super fast. Like you see like a whole day from beginning to end, like literally that fast. I love that sound. I use it all the time. So that instantaneousness of watching something from beginning to end, and then from end to beginning, helps your brain, and then one more time, I usually do it 5 times, fast, 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 reverse, fast again, to lock it in. It locks it in your brain, so your brain has this new idea of how you want to be or what you want to do or the way you want to think about something or how you want to experience something that's different from before. And then, so you've watched it several times, you find yourself in it. Like you watch yourself, you watch the scene, you imagine that that's you, and then you're in that scene and you're watching yourself do it again. And then you're in that scene and you're seeing it. You're seeing it through your eyes, you're feeling it through your body, you're doing all these things. And again, you're going super fast. 1, 2, 3, and then reverse, all the way backwards, end of day to beginning of day, and then beginning to end one more time. And you lock in like thoughts and behaviors and how you do this thing. And all of a sudden, whatever you disassociated from, again, usually ends up in your past. And you can now think about it without having the emotions, without having flashbacks, without having that movie that used to be there, because now you have a different movie or a different way of thinking about things and a different way of moving through your life, and you can literally move on, and the PTSD symptoms can go away. So whether it's a phobia, you can do that with fear of flying, you can do that with fear of driving, you can do that with fear of bugs, swimming, almost anything. So whatever it is that your brain thinks about, you can adjust. And so I didn't mean to make today all about NLP, but it's such a versatile tool to use that you can use very quickly for any number of things, for getting over a fear of elevators or escalators, and for, I don't know, bike riding. You could find yourself doing all these different things in a new way than you have ever done before. And the idea that you can take a sensation that you really love and make it stronger, isn't that fun? Just make those good sensations stronger and stronger and stronger. Give yourself like a confidence boost, like the time I felt most powerful in my life, where the words that I needed to say just flowed, where my ideas were sharp and crisp and clear and there, and everything was just so perfect, right? You anchor that in and you go, and you feel like a superhero when you go into that meeting or to have those interactions with people. Like, any of those things can help you feel like $1 million or $1 billion in this economy, $1 trillion, I don't know. To help you, get to a place where you're like, I'm really good at doing this thing. I think it's time that I got a raise or a different job, or I started my own company, or, I've gotten my life so organized that now I have all this time to do these things that help me become a better person. Gosh, I didn't even know I loved doing exercise. I didn't know that I loved cooking. I didn't know that I loved singing or dancing or, going on these trips because I was so busy with all the little minutiae of my life before. And now I have this time, and now I have it to focus on making myself as decent and wonderful as possible. So anyway, I guess that's what we're going to talk about today. That's it. Those NLP techniques. I might do some other NLP techniques. I think it's fun. Like, those are probably my top 3 that I use. I like them. I think they're fun. You can do a lot of stuff with them. And there's a whole bunch others out there. There's a woman named Connie Ray Andreas, who was one of Richard Bandler and John Grinder's students. Like, early on, she and her not then husband, but who became her husband, were like doing the editing. They'd like do the videotaping, and then they wrote a book of some of those performances. So she went on to develop the system. You may have heard of it. I don't know. It's called, I want to say something like core wholeness or something. That's not quite right. I have some of her books. I'm not remembering what it is. So basically, she basically gets to the heart of the things that are not right with you. She's and then you change in all these cool, subtle ways. But she did a lot of work. She and her husband, and then her sister and her son also. They have a whole core transformation, that's what it's called. And so they have all these, this whole system where they teach people how to do these things around how to literally change all sorts of things. And I remember reading a story about her. She and her husband were like driving somewhere, and she's got this terrible headache, and her husband basically says to her, well, I don't have a headache. Why don't you be me? And she was like, oh, that's a great idea. So she did whatever, because she's a little more magical than I am, I think. And she sort of inhabited her husband into her body. And then she said her headache just disappeared. Anyway, anecdotal, but I love those kinds of stories. All right. I would like to thank you all for being here today. Because this has been a lot of fun and a little different. And I'll be back again next Sunday. You're welcome to join the Discord if you want. I really appreciate your support on Patreon and the Discord if you want to chat or here as a member. And please let me know how things went for you. Excuse me. I'll be back again next week. I am probably going to, at some point in time, do a little demo sample of the virus thing, and I'll put that up as a video when I record that. And I hope you guys have a great time. If you made some change that you notice over the coming week has completely adjusted how you feel about something, whether you've given yourself an instant orgasm or you can now do a thing easily that you were not looking forward to before, tell me all about it. I want to know. I love knowing these things. I'm glad you're here. And again, I'll be back next week. Look for that virus thing. And hopefully your life gets even better. So, bye. Thanks for being here.